Stop the nightmare.
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 Stay home.
Save lives.
And we are live.
Are we?
Yes, we are.
It doesn't say on my phone that we're live. No.
I'm...
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Horror Syndicate Discourse. We are here tonight with a special guest. First, we've got Seth, Nate, Keith, and Jared as usual, but we've got the Dream Master herself, Lisa Wilcox, with us, and it's an honor to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me in for a little chat.
Yes, it's gonna be a lot of fun, hopefully, and hopefully my you know, my heart rate will go down a little bit because I'm super nervous. But,
well, you should be nervous because I do bite.
Well, I'll watch out then, or will I? That's the question. So we're really happy to have you. All of us, except Keith, are big Nightmare fans. No, I'm joking. We most of us, except Keith, he's super young. He's a 96 kid. He's a Scream kid.
Yeah.
We all grew up on Nightmare, and I know at least 3 of us had giant crushes on you growing up. Just get that out of the way. And
well, you must have liked redheads because you know I had red hair for the movie. I dyed it with dyed red for that role.
Well,
anyway.
That's part of it. I think the other part is how badass Alice turns out towards the end of the movie. You know, she's got probably one of the best character arcs in the entire series, in my opinion. Dream Master's my favorite of the series for the most part. Nightmare 1, you it's like you can't have Nightmare 4 without Nightmare 1. So
sure,
but yeah,
and 1 was scary. I mean, 4 has a whole, you know, each progression there were, you know, kind of changes in Robert Englund's character and Freddy, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, go ahead, Nate.
Oh yeah, I just kind of felt like watching it this time. Like Alice is almost, I mean, the Dream Warriors kind of introduced it, but Alice is almost like a full-blown superhero in this film. Like when the part where you actually get into a superhero costume, basically. You have all these abilities and these superpowers that your friends have given you. So it becomes like, even though they faced him like that in Dream Warriors, your character taking a mano, and that whole fight was definitely like, it was like a superhero movie at the end at that film, where you're going back and forth and you're trying to outwit them and figure out how to defeat them. And that whole montage where you're getting dressed up, like, this is like, I mean, totally, it was a big 80s thing. It was a Rambo thing.
Right.
But, you know, it was like, she's actually, it's kind of like a superhero thing that she's actually putting on this recognizable thing where, I mean, people could cosplay as Alice in that scene. And really, I know Taylor does a lot of the Alice Johnson stuff.
Taylor Bursky. Yes. So I was just, she sent me a message yesterday. I need to reply to her, but and you know, it's true. And like what you brought up, like superpowers, it's like Alice has gotten characteristics of her friends, you know, strengths and weaknesses. Though I say that because it's so funny when, so Kristen dies, right? And then, so she's given me the power to bring people into my dreams. But then I start smoking. I'm smoking in the bathroom because she was a smoker, right? Yeah. So it's like, I thought that was always so clever. So it wasn't like Alice just got all the perfect characteristics of her friends, you know what I mean? It was like, she got it all, you know? Poor Alice had to be so freaking confused. What the hell is happening to me? That line, right, in the mirror? What's happening to me? Or to myself,
Yeah, even using more foul language, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's something that always stuck. I think I got that fucking A term from you. So when I was 8 years old.
And Ken Sagos, of course, who plays that part, you know, he's the one. but I've absorbed that too, his
Yeah.
language, so it's really interesting. I have to say, when I read the character, I like flipped out because I'm like, this is a dream role for an actor because of the character arc, because of this change that she goes through. And it was actually really tricky as an actor because obviously we don't film in series, right? You're doing scene 4 in the morning and then you're doing scene 53 in the afternoon. So with my script, what I did is I wrote for every single scene who had died at that point, right? Mm-hmm. So on set day, and I can go, oh, we're doing scene 3 and 53 today. Okay, scene 3, okay, no one's died yet. I'm proper shout, Alice, shy Alice. Scene 53, oh hell, 3 people have died. Okay, because I wanted it to be believable, the transition. I didn't want it to seem like, oh, all of a sudden she's like went from here to here, so that was the challenge as a performer.
I was wondering about that. Keeping notes because shooting out of sequence. And I know the movie. I don't know how long the shoot was, but I know those movies were kind of rushed because we're getting them right out. I don't know how much time you have for rehearsal, or if there was any rehearsal or prep. But I was thinking about with your character, because she does adopt all those things from the other people. Were you at all able to maybe study the other actors or what they were doing to kind of maybe some way put a mannerism or something that Toy or Brooke or somebody was doing that would or is that just like probably not possible?
well we did have we didn't even do a table read or anything like that, so really all I could do is just kind of go off of meeting them on the set and observing their traits in the scenes, and I was able to add maybe things here and there along the way, but we did do we did have like a camera day where they experimented with lighting, and that was when we want you to dye your hair. We dye your hair, and I'm like, I don't want to dye my hair. I was a virgin platinum blonde, okay. For the role though, I got it. See, Rennie Harlan hired 3 blondes, so Kristen's character had to be blonde, right? Then Brooke Thies, Cockroach Girl, Bud Girl, they asked her to wear a wig. So that 80s hair, that is a wig. She also
really
black and blonde.
It looks good.
And with me, they asked me to dye my hair, which was fine. And we ultimately did a rinse, but I may as well have dyed it because the rinse stained my hair. It's like throwing red onto white. Okay, it stained it, it's fine. And also the rinse was a really big pain in the butt in the morning because it had to be done every day and it's very wet. So they would have 2 blow dryers on my head getting it dry. Then what would happen in the middle of the hair process, Rennie would need a rehearsal on set. And I'm like, oh my God, I got dye and an apron and dye dripping down. Oh my God, it was hysterical. But for as a character choice, red is absolutely the color. It's also part of why they wouldn't audition me at first. So
because you were a blonde.
I was a blonde, and my 8x10 80s picture was like Miss Barbizon, Miss cheerleader, right? So I did not look at all for what they imagined. Same here, like Alice, right? So Annette Benson actually tells me this story about they literally went through like 700 actresses, auditioned 700 actresses for the role of Alice. They couldn't find her, so they went to their reject pile. Hi, which I was in. So, hi, Lisa Wilcox here. So I finally got the opportunity to audition, and I went in with like dirty hair, no makeup. I wore my worst color, which is pale yellow. When don't have a tan, it's the worst color for blondes. And I auditioned, and then I had one callback 2 days before my huge wedding of 150 people. And on my honeymoon, I learned I got the role. So
That's pretty awesome.
So that's like a double good weekend. Yeah. Good.
Right.
Yeah.
But going back to your question, we did have like a good 6 hours of just playing with camera, working with Rennie. I know I had to have met some of the cast that day too, because we were all kind of going in and out sort of thing. But we filmed, gosh, I want to say like 8 weeks. I mean, it wasn't that quick, you know. And then we went back for some reshoots later on too.
Like 2 weeks before it came out.
That's still
Something like that.
Yeah, there's a scene in particular I wanted to ask about while you're talking about your hair and just the scene in the boiler room where Kristen dies. Your hair is like soaking wet, like, you know, like what was that fully dyed, or did you have the color dripping problem? Because it was like so wet. Like I remember I watched it again last night, even though I've seen the movie like 300 times. I'm like, oh, her hair's so wet. Does she sweat when she sleeps? What is that?
It was wet, I guess, because it's like I've been brought into the boiler room that's all wet and
humid
weird,
in
right?
there.
You know, and so, but that's a really good point, because of course I filmed earlier that day and had the rinse put on, and so then we're doing that scene and they're wetting my hair and I'm wearing that white nightgown, and the DP goes, "Cut! What is that on her nightgown?" Yes, the rinse was dripping all over the white nightgown.
Oh.
So guess what? They had to pop Lisa Wilcox's head in a sink and wash my hair, wash all of that rinse out, and then do the scene again. So very, very good question. Yeah.
That's
Another funny thing. All right, this is kind of embarrassing, but I don't remember that it was that particular day, and I wasn't thinking about it, but I forgot to shave my legs. So which I'm blonde, it's okay, you know, but it actually worked out because the water, because you know, there's a close up of my feet and my legs, and it actually worked because the droplets could stick better to my skin, to the hair, as it were. So anyway, oh yes, there's all kinds of funny little stories.
How do you talk about the auditioning? And I know you actors go on a lot of auditions, put out, go out and all these things. One of my favorite things that I heard, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, like 1988 was like the year I became a horror fan. So that movie, that was the first one I saw in the theaters, was Part 4.
Cool.
But my two favorite horror films of that year were Nightmare 4 and Halloween 4. And correct me if I'm wrong, you auditioned for Rachel in Halloween 4. I read that. I mean, you may not even remember if you did.
I could have.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. There's a very good chance I did. But what I definitely remember is auditioning for Nightmare 4, because I was already a huge Nightmare Elm Street fan. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when my manager said, "I put you in for an audition for Nightmare Elm Street," I'm like, no way. Oh my God, that'd be so great. I want it so bad. Because I was a huge, I'm a huge horror fan, but I really love Nightmare on Elm Street. I just love the intelligence of it, the intelligence of this monster, you know, the way he speaks, the lines he says, he's so clever and creepy and cool. And it's not, I never looked at Nightmare on Elm Street as a slasher movie. There's not a lot of, there's some blood, but it's not like every single Nightmare on Elm Street movie is blood. Like Nightmare 4, you know, Kenny's character, he gets stabbed by the knives in his stomach, right? Kincaid. But you don't see any blood, you know? Then you got the girl, you know, then Troy Newkirk, she dies of the asthma attack, no blood. Kristen, yeah, she has a burnt face, but I wouldn't say it's like, there's no blood splatter. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, it's not about body count either. There's actually like effort put into every sequence of a death scene. Like it's not just, oh, this person gets strangled, this person gets stabbed. It's like, even like in Dream Child, there's only, I think, 3 kills in Dream Child, 3 or 4. But the other thing about the Halloween thing is the actress who got the part of Rachel also auditioned for Alice. So both
she did?
Yeah, yes. So I thought that was always one of my favorite, because those are 2 of my favorite characters in horror and like slasher films. So like, and both of you both auditioned for Beach Row. Apparently, that's what's out there. I'm saying you probably.
You know what? Let's say yes. I probably did. Okay, I probably did, and it's just it just isn't. I'm not properly remembering, only because Nightmare stood out to me so much as something I really, really, you know, want it because I'm such a fan.
And thankfully you got that role, because I can't imagine her as Alice. I can't imagine you as Rachel, because I think both of y'all really fit those roles. So luckily they pulled you off the reject list. we got you as Alice.
Exactly. Yes. Reject. Scamped.
Which really goes into the whole acting thing, is like you guys, I don't know how you guys do it, because I'm a filmmaker too, and I've directed about 7 films, and casting is always such a hard time, because it does come down to little things like that. You were blonde, so they just passed you up, and being judged by it, knowing it's not always about your talent that you get passed on.
Right. I mean, my resume, if you looked at the resume, my body of work, I had a ton of theater. I have a degree from UCLA. I had done a couple little TV things, guest star role stuff, but I had training, and if you looked at all the credits, and if that cast, back then they knew theater more, but they just were going off the physical first. They just typically do, because they have to look at hundreds, if not nowadays thousands of resumes, and they just have to swipe. They swipe. The look isn't right. The look isn't right. Then, that look looks good. Then they'll look at your credits or see your experience. Because if you see all the plays that I've done, I've played all kinds of different roles in all those different projects. So, but anyway, long story short, I got the part.
What pot? So I want to ask, where did you get those mad nunchucking skills?
Where did I get what?
The mad nunchucking skills.
Well, Andras and I, was my brother, they did send us to karate school for a day.
A day.
Yep. And so I could do the stuff in the mirror, and not knock myself in the head kind of thing. But of course there is a totally pro, nunchuck artist that does the stuff from the back.
Oh, really? That wasn't you?
Now. I mean, you could tell I'm
that
doing
wasn't
it.
you? Oh my gosh, I couldn't tell.
Oh my gosh. Well, here's what's funny. You were talking about hair, right? People always make fun of the wig that she is wearing from the back when she's doing the nunchucks, looking in the mirror. Now, next time you see it, you'll check out her hair. Her hair looked nothing like my hair. Well, they put a wig on her, but the dye had made it more red than brown, but the wig they had was more brown already, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so now you're going to notice that.
You had like a lot of doubles on the film, right? Like in the church scene, like you said, there were like a lot of Alice Johnsons walking around in that costume.
Yeah, lots of Alice Johnsons wearing the superhero outfit, and it would be kind of strange because I'd be like looking around, and they have a wig, make like the ponytail wig, and they'd be looking around, I'd be looking, going, "This is kind of creepy." There's like multiples of me walking around, but they were amazing. Many of them were Olympiads, so in gymnastics. Now I will say in the church scene, when it gets started, I did some gymnastics, when I was younger. So I did do the cartwheel, like things that led into, and then they cut to the body double, but I mean, they did amazing things. So with wires, and I mean, I thought it turned out pretty phenomenal. You did a great job.
Oh, it's one of the best sequences in the series. And, like Nightmare alone, I think what I gravitated towards it more than the others is because of the imagination and the size and scope, especially the 2 films you did. You had Rennie Harlan and Stephen Hopkins, who went on to be big time blockbuster filmmakers. Like they were guys who were totally visual, which a lot of the other franchises didn't have. Nightmare really had these visionary filmmakers with these, so what was it like working with Rennie and Stephen?
No, Rennie was, fresh actor, did this one movie, Prison, and he was new, but he was so much fun. He was so lovely. He was very a quiet director. I mean, he would ask you things, but he was never got crazy or angry or anything like that. He was like the most mellow dude, and we felt very, very comfortable with him. And we're young actors. This is our first big movie, and so I remember there was a scene in the Crave Inn where as an actor, I'm always trying to find, my busy work. I'm in the restaurant. What am I doing? And okay, so we blocked it, and I'm over by the silverware. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be polishing silverware, at the start of the scene. And then I picked it up, and there was this fabulous shadow on the wall. Okay. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was holding forks, right? And I'm like, Rennie, come here. This is such a great effect. And it's right here in my shot. And he goes, oh, Lisa. And he puts the forks down, and he gives me the knives. So there's that great insert of the shadow, like a foreshadowing with the knives on the wall. So the production value too, I'm telling you, is just phenomenal. Like, I just so admire that people that are artists like that, and they created such great spaces for us to work in. And the detail, oh my gosh, when the Crave Inn is then turned into like the ghost town with the cobwebs, the pizza scene,
Mhm.
It was so well done. They just, every detail, and that kind of environment only helps a performer to even make more interesting choices and add elements like a shadow on the wall. So yeah, it was really cool. So sorry, a little tangent there. One night before. Now, Steve Hopkins, he is a brilliant artist. So he did all of the storyboards. He personally drew them. So magnificent. And his vision of the Escher room was, I think, completely blew me away. That room was amazing. And that is due to Stephen Hopkins, attention to set design, is his thing. So, they were all, Stephen was a little more, and again, I don't know, behind the scenes, I think he had more pressure than Rennie Harlan did. Yeah. So he would have tense moments and stuff with us, and not directed at us, but more just things we didn't know was going on. And, it's kind of like you're the little kids and you're like, oh God, mom and dad are fighting. Ah! So it was that kind of feeling, at times. But other than that, and I'll never forget when we, so they offered Nightmare 5, and so they'd already chosen Steve Hopkins to direct. And so we went to lunch to meet each other, whatever. He was so hot. I am telling you. Now, mind you, I am married by now, but a girl, we all still have eyeballs, right? Yeah. He was so cute. Oh my gosh. I was like, hi, whatever you want me to do. So anyway.
And that he had, I read that it was Dreamchild rushed even more, because I read he had 4 weeks. Maybe that's why he was so stressed. Like, it said something like he had 4 weeks to shoot it, 4 weeks to edit.
He said it started around Valentine's Day, didn't it? And it had to be out by August. Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah, it came up pretty fast. I recall we filmed more than 4 weeks, because I would remember that. I would remember. We had less time to shoot, though, Nightmare 5 than we did 4. So that is definitely a true thing going on. And then there were all kinds of things going on because the motorcycle scene, Danny is taken over by the motorcycle, which is so intense. Mm-hmm. Well, the rating people kept giving it an X rating, and they had to keep editing or reshoot. And oh my gosh. And then there was even a protest in Westwood, which is Los Angeles, where UCLA is actually. There's a protest against Nightmare 5 saying it was so violent. So anyway, it was an interesting time. Obviously 4 and 5 are very different films,
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer out of them, 4 or 5?
Gosh, I would have to say 4, simply because that's where I got to develop the character of Alice, right? And got to play this character. But I love 5 too. I mean, it's like trying to choose. It's like Sophie's Choice. It's trying to choose between your child. Okay. But Nightmare 5, I thought was such a brave film because it hit on so many topics that were current in the 80s.
Yeah.
Okay, alcoholism and things that are still, of course, talked about: bulimia, anorexia, alcoholism, teen pregnancy, abortion. Yep. Okay, this little movie packed in so much, and I think it just didn't get the credit because it was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And nowadays we talk about the subject matters, over dinner. it's no big deal. They're not touchy subjects anymore. It's out in the open. So this is why I really do admire, I admire the film. And in fact, I would say the last like 3 or 4 years, I've had people come talk to me at the conventions or on Facebook and say that 5 is their favorite, actually. So it just took some time for people to warm up to it, I think.
Yeah, see, 5. Yeah. I'm the 5 guy out of everybody here. I'm pretty sure.
I love it.
I like it. I like you were saying. It's packed full of more stuff. Like it has more substance to it for me than 4 does.
It has substance, and it's bringing up things that teenagers are dealing with in real life. And but at the time in 1989, people didn't want to see that. They wanted to be entertained. They did not want to think about the problems out in society. You know what I mean? Yeah. So whereas nowadays, those subject matters are pretty tame, really. Now we have other subject matters that are not so tame, like COVID-19. So anyway.
That's what, part 5 always felt so grown up, or the adult nightmare movie to me. And I was like 1 year out before high school when it came out. So I was around the whole teen. I remember teen pregnancy being a big topic at that time. And so when I knew we were doing the show, I was like, I'm going to go do some studying on this. And they did say in 1987, there was just like this crisis of teen pregnancy in America because of the sex on TV and the economy, and it's always a rich and poor thing, which you all touch on in that with Dan's parents and your family, and them wanting to take your baby away because you're not fit or you don't have the money and all that. So you touched on a whole lot of things going social. Commentary.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you did that research, because it is so true. Teen pregnancy, contraception, all of that was a huge thing, and people were completely on opposite ends of the pole, as far as that. So it was a very sensitive, subject. I mean, abortion is still a sensitive subject, but back then, oh wow, no way. It was it was intense.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that. I was 9 years old, sitting in a drive-in the first time I saw it. Double bill with some Sylvester Stallone movie that I can't even remember what it was now. Lock Up.
Lock Up?
Yeah, I think it was Lock Up.
Ooh, Lock Up.
Yeah. So my mom took me to see that because I loved, the Freddy movies so much. I didn't notice it until much later. I never dealt with teen pregnancy, I don't think.
The subject matter. Well, and you know what though, in 5, I think it's really cool, the guy who does the comic book thing, and he goes into becomes the comic, and I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
There was some neat stuff.
There's really inventive stuff that happened in the 5th movie. There's only 3 deaths, and I've seen people complain about that, but again, it's not technically a slasher movie. And like Jason, where he's by the 30-minute mark, he's already killed 25 people.
Right.
But like, the Greta's death was very inventive. Freddy feeding her to herself, and
I know, it's
super
so
nightmarish
gross.
with her mom and all those people around the table laughing at her.
Like
Nothing
Tim
but the
Burton,
best
that
for
kind of
Greta.
thing.
Coolest scene.
Yeah. It was,
Oh,
and then Mark's death with the comic books, the Phantom Prowler, which is a cool character in itself.
That was a huge time. 1989 was the year Batman came out, so comic superheroes and comics were taking off. And I remember at that time I was 13, and I was in the comics, and I was into skateboarding because skateboarding was a huge thing. Tony Hawk was like the biggest thing in the world. So you all are hitting all those, like you had the pulse. Like I think Robert said that. You had your finger on the pulse of teen life.
Yeah.
And that was what's cool, is you were able to give. The victims in nightmare movies to me are far more memorable because they do have these things that make them stand out from one another.
Yeah, development.
They actually have personalities and character. Like you can define those characters. You know who Debbie is. You know who Sheila is. You know who, and you get to develop all of those characters.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And I think I've talked about why Nightmare really got me through a hard time, because I was being bullied at the time when I saw Nightmare 4, and I saw the first 4 films. And so I related to Alice in that she is an introvert. I was an introvert, and she's someone who is stands up to the bully by the end. That's what Nightmare's always been to me.
Starts off kind of meek and shy.
Freddy is the ultimate bully, and the characters have to take away their fear of him, because that's where he gets his power and his fuel, basically. So to watch the Dream Warriors and Alice take away that fear from their bully and defeat him was, I think, why Nightmare really was so attractive to me and helped me through that time. And I think those other films, they were, again, a lot of them, I enjoy them, but there are a lot of of that genre. They were just about the body count and the kills and the effects, where Nightmare it just touched on, I mean, even Wes being the kind of storyteller he was all about psychology, and I mean, he was a professor, and so he thought about those things when he was writing this character and this storyline of just like even how parents don't listen to their children, and the kids are alone in this fight, and they have to face this thing alone, because no one's going to believe them, because who's going to believe that there's something in their dreams? They just put them in an insane asylum, you know. So it's like so much going on in this franchise that it's definitely my favorite, because of the endless possibilities that they presented actors and special effects people. Because your part 4 is, to me, the greatest. Like, special effects were so, but you guys had so many masters of it, with Steve Johnson and Kevin Yeager and Howard Berger and John Carl Beechler and who was
Screaming Mad George was on
I mean,
there.
it was like a dream team of special effects guys.
Yeah, and they're figuring it out, you know, too, along the way.
Mm-hmm.
They did things that never had been done, you know, and also done well, you know, like I don't know. I still love God rest his soul, John Carlo Beechler, who passed away. Which breaks my heart, because I actually worked with him a number of years later doing Watchers 4. 4 seems to be my lucky number. Anyway, he did the pizza with the talking meatballs and stuff, you know, and we on the set are like, that's so cool, you know. So just such brilliance, really was.
Like I said, they made a lot of it up because you had the writer's strike going on. Y'all were kind of, you didn't have a full, complete script at the beginning, or were you kind of just making things up as they went along, coming up with ideas?
Everyone says that now. We had a full script. We had a full script. Definitely. We had a shooting script, no question about it. But what would happen is, you know, we'd realize that there's a scene, and we need to add a scene that, or Rennie and the producers would be talking, say, we need to add a scene, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so, for instance, the scene with me and my brother, Andras Jones, and I'm watching the video, Kristen's died, and I'm watching the video of she with my brother, boyfriend, girlfriend, and Brooke V's character, and I think Toy Newkirk's too, so Sheila. And I'm watching it, and I've had a dream, and he comes in, and my brother's like, what are you doing, Alice? And I'm like, well, I had this dream. And he's like, oh, God, not you, too. But I could smell the smoke. I could feel sorry. Andres and I wrote that scene. Thank you.
Oh. It was well played, too.
Huh?
It was really well played, too.
Thank you.
Kind of watched that
like
one a little
that
bit closer
scene.
last night. Yeah, it's a
There's
very
like
good scene.
There's tender moments, Rick, my brother, we're really brother and sister, like, and it's important for that to come across.
Yeah,
not
he really
only
wants to
brother and
protect
sister,
you.
but they were real. And I think we were twins, actually.
Yeah, he mentioned that in Never Sleep Again, that I think at one point you guys were at least twins.
And it is a great, oh, it's a really good relationship. We got these two characters who are not just helping each other, navigate through the whole Freddy thing, but navigate through their problems with their father.
Mm-hmm.
And they really get each other's back. Yeah.
And the loss of our mother, the loss of our mother. And again, that script is just so Brian Hagelin wrote it, and just really, I give so much always to writers. I mean, that's the bones you're starting with, that's the beginning of, the script. And I just feel like he really, like you were saying, he there was character development, or not just Alice, but all the characters, and definitely the Alice Rick brother sister relationship is apparent, and we had the opportunity because we had scenes to explore that, scenes that were not about death, or being killed, you know what I mean? Dealing with depression and dad's a dick and this, that, so.
I like the dad.
Well, like that great scene. Well, I'm sorry. Go
The
ahead.
second one. No, I actually wanted to ask about that scene where you're daydreaming about slamming the soup bowl or the salad bowl on the table.
Yeah.
And getting right in his face. Was that hard to do? Because
No.
no.
No, go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Well, I can recite it line for line, but
I just love with the Rick and Alice. I love the scene where he's trying to teach you to do karate.
Swim.
Right.
Let's kill the fish. It's just
Oh
a
my God,
sweet,
you have
fun
no
moment.
idea. That dang shoe, because I had to set it so the shoe was kind of off enough,
so when you were fidgeting,
so it would fly off my foot, right?
So
but
were
not
you
the other one. So
were
go
you
ahead.
fidgeting like you were doing this before you kicked? It almost looks like you're trying to push the shoe off your foot while you're kind of doing this right before you did the kick. Were you doing that with your foot, trying to wedge the shoe off your foot?
Yes.
I always wondered that.
It just looks like someone who is completely without coordination and confidence. So what makes it that great story arc of by the end, I mean, you're saving the day. You're saving the macho hunk guy, and you're
Right.
taking charge, So there's no. I think that little body language of Alice in that scene just plants the thing that this girl was so meek and so uncoordinated and so not up to
Total
fighting
klutz.
this guy.
Yes.
And so
Which
I mean,
was endearing. Which is endearing.
Mhm.
makes you love her and be on her side, right?
Right. Well, I want to say that breaking the bowl scene, one of my favorite scenes in that, I love that scene, is that, so I did a YouTube thing and I went and visited locations where we had filmed Nightmare on Elm Street 4. So the Johnson house is in Burbank and I'm on the sidewalk. I'm doing this completely guerrilla style. My friend is doing sound and camera, and he's got a professional equipment and stuff. So we're filming in front of the house, and the gate is closed or whatever. It's a little house Burbank. Anyway, so we're filming on the sidewalk. Then so we did our thing, and I made nunchucks are illegal in California, so I made them out of paper towel holders and a chain. Okay. Anyway, it's really fun. So we do our thing, and we're done, and we hop, and we're putting the equipment in the car, and this lady comes out. She's like, "Were you filming my house? Were you filming my house?" We're like, "Well, yeah, but we're on the sidewalk." And I know what it was. I had just gotten in the driver's seat, and David, who was filming it, he's putting the equipment. He's like, "Lisa, we got trouble." So I get out. I'm like, "Hi." She's like, "Were you filming my house?" I said, "Yeah, well, here we didn't get your driver's license plate or anything like that. I played Alice Johnson in A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5, and we're just doing this YouTube." Okay, her mouth goes, "You're Lisa Wilcox? You played Alice? By all means, come inside." So she took us to the back. So I got to do more filming of the back, because there's that famous scene when Rick is always hopping out of that window, and Alice does too at one point, and it had been remodeled. So there's another vignette. We get more. Then she brought me in the house, the kitchen that we filmed at. I did this YouTube series 2 or 3 years ago. And so the actual kitchen is exactly the same. And that dining room is exactly the same.
Wow.
And she said, "Would you mind replaying that scene when you throw the bowl at your father's face on the table?" So she gets me a Tupperware, and I don't know how, but I remembered those lines, and I reenacted it for her. So anyway, it's kind of funny. On that part, we didn't get to film because she didn't want us filming inside the house. She had just had surgery, and she didn't want to be on film, and whatever. So, but I actually got to give her that little gift of reacting to that, you
That's
know.
amazing.
Yeah, I can think of how sick I am if you drink your life away and take it out on me.
Yes. That is great. Well, you can see right there that Alice had the strength in her. Just, I mean, it was within her based on that, you know. those
She's
dreams.
angry.
Yeah,
She's
got a lot in her.
angry at
from the
her
beginning.
father. Mm-hmm.
Poor guy, but he made up for it by the next one. He was a nice guy. He came to graduation.
Yes, and he was sober,
Yeah,
and he was cool about the baby.
he was very
you know.
supportive. He stood up to the Jordans.
Yes,
So-
he did. He was a good dad.
They seem
Yeah.
like big patrons in the town of Springwood. Like people, like everybody knew them. Like they had big money, and he stood up to. It was like a big moment in that movie.
Right. Right. Yes. No. Yeah. You got that feeling. You nailed it. You
Yeah.
nailed it. Yeah.
And
the
then Mark
Jordans
standing
always
in the
get their
corner.
way.
Yeah,
They're the privileged people, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And they have their son is the star, you know, athlete and blah, blah, blah. So,
Yeah. I heard that there was a raps that was cut out of that sequence, the graduation. Is that true? That you and Kelly Jo Minter and Greta, I think. Apparently there was a lot of stuff cut out of the graduation. I don't know if you actually filmed it or it was just in the script, but I read there was a rap, and that just intrigues me.
I seem to remember like a rubber rat, not a real rat, but a rubber rat, like one of those big rubber ones, you know, you get at Halloween, that you can buy in a Halloween store or something, because we were all supposed to be just kind of goofy with our goofy glasses and our goofy little props and stuff. And I don't know. It could have been a rubber
It was
rat. I don't remember a real rat though.
No, like a rap song, like a
rap song.
Yeah, like you did
Oh
a
my God.
rap or something.
If there was one, I was not there that day. I did not film a rap song because I'm sure I would remember the rap song. But next time I see Kelly Jo or Erica, whatever, I will ask them and say, is age finally setting in and I just don't remember doing a rap song? I don't know. I remember the big group scene though, with all of the moms and the dads, and just like any real graduation, coordinating that photo that you take. And we had, you know, we were figuring out silly things, what to do. And then ultimately, I think I'm being held up and have the goofy glasses. And anyway, that it was fun. We had so much fun. That was filmed at Venice High School.
That's a fun scene. I love the coach that sits down in the photo with you. It looks like something out of like a John Hughes movie or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, definitely.
He looked out of place too. The
Let me look
college
together.
football coach. Yeah. Do you keep in contact with many of your co-stars? I know they're like. It seems like you guys traveled, maybe not together, but I like when at Horror Hound Indy 2018, there was Tuesday was there, you were there, Rick, who else? There was like 4 or 5 of you there, but what about the people from 5? Do you see a lot of them?
No, rarely from 5. I think we're just more spread out. The only one I see is Kelly Jo Minter. And we see each other, and we were trying to do a travel show at one point. And she is in Los Angeles, but everyone else I haven't seen. But I don't think they don't live in LA or California, so it's harder to see them. And it would be really nice though to have a Nightmare 5 reunion. It's been a long time since we've done one. Probably, I would say 15 years. I would say that would be interesting. Huh?
Yeah, you never see the reunions. I always wonder because the only actors from that film apart from you and Danny is Kelly Jo Minter. She's the only one, and Michael Bailey Smith, who played Super Freddy, I think does a lot.
Yeah,
but Kelly's the only other one that's new to the series from 5 that I've seen at conventions. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and she's done some other really cool. I think People Under the Stairs, and she's done some other really cool stuff.
She did a lot of big things, like Summer School and
Summer
she's,
School.
And Mask.
Yeah, Mask. Mm-hmm. How was she? When I met her, she seemed like she's just a riot. Like she's really.
She is funny, and her voice. I tell her that voice of hers cracks me up. But yeah, she's a crack up. She's a very cool chick. And of course, Nightmare 5 we've, you know, we're like family. I mean, seriously, we go to these conventions, we have a great time. Where, you know, Robert is Uncle Robert to us, you know, I mean, and we genuinely really love each other and care about each other, and we're like super tight, super tight. So
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, we were at Horror Hound, and I think it was you, Amanda Wiss, and maybe it was Tuesday. We're like escorting him somewhere. Like it was an interesting scene seeing like him surrounded by three or four of the women from Nightmare.
we were his
think it was
bodyguards, you're saying?
What's that?
We were his bodyguards?
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, it was
no,
like
we were probably going to dinner or going to the bar, you know, or
It
whatever.
must
We all
have-
hang out
but
at the bar. We talk to everybody.
it looked like you were protecting him. That's what.
Well,
if you could, of course.
we're
but-
the heroines, the warriors. We're the warriors. Yes, it could have been, but I know we would not be escorting him to the restroom. He can do that all on his own.
I don't know if he ever gets to go. His lines are so long.
I know, right?
Yeah. He was I wanted to see him at that show, but I looked at the line. I was like, never mind.
I know. Yeah, that's pretty intense. His lines are pretty intense.
Yeah.
So let's just hope those conventions come back. Oh, sorry, that's my doggy. I think the gardener's here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's the pool man. Chester. Shush.
So does Seth or Keith or Jared have anything else? I know me and Ray keep talking.
You're good, Nathan.
Okay, I don't want to, you know, keep
I know.
talking.
I think I saw someone missing. That's okay. I might have to take a potty break. I don't know. But I don't need any escorts. It's good. I've got my dog here.
Very protective, it sounds like.
So what do you get asked to say or do the most by fans at like conventions and stuff?
For me to kiss them.
Really? I did not do that. I could barely get a word out.
That seems a little far.
I would say certain lines they ask me to say, you know, like your one major league hunk, that one's very popular. And one I sign on pictures quite often as well. But you know, I think the question mostly asked is, what was it like working with Robert? That's the one that's asked by millions and millions of but
I'm sure it was terrible.
It's all fine. It's all fine.
Yeah, I've moderated a few Nightmare panels at shows, and like that's the one thing I like Ken and Rodney and all them, and I'm like, I don't bring up Robert. That's probably all y'all get asked. I just talk about you and your career and why you got into acting and all this because
yeah. Well, and you know, yes, thank you, really, thank you, because we like to share too, and then we do the panels. If Robert's on the panel and us, we just sit there with our hands politely in our lap and just nod our head, and because all the questions go to Robert. And but
he
Robert,
can talk too.
In defense, oh yeah, he's cried a raconteur, absolutely. But Robert will be saying, "Stop asking me questions. Ask this wonderful cast them questions." So he tries to get them to talk to us. But when Robert isn't on the panel and it's just us, you know, co-stars or whatever, you know, then it's a whole different can of beans, whole different experience.
So let's not ask about how it was to work with Robert.
Heard that.
It was wonderful, fantastic. He was great to all of us young actors, and I got to work with him again on Fear Clinic. So there you go. Yeah, we have mutual admiration for each other. He's great. He's lovely. He adores us. He really does.
Was that the webisodes you guys did with Kane Hodder?
Yes, we did in Watchers 4. Yep.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yep, he was the storekeeper. That was a very exciting time for me. It was Watchers 4 with Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself. I have never been so nervous on the first day of filming. You have no idea. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and how I managed to memorize my lines and get through that first day, I don't even know. And then, of course, after the right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, he is, and so it's the first day, and nicest guy in the whole world, so down to earth, and he is a huge Simpsons fan, right? Yeah. So he's got like a whole library of them. So he would bring episodes, and we would watch in his trailer while they're setting up lights or whatever. He was so lovely. And on top of that, after we finished filming, he invited me and my husband and my 2 little boys, who were about 4 and 8 at the time, over to his house, and we went swimming. And then we were sitting around and met his wife, and they have 3 children themselves. And here's a little story. So we're sitting at the patio table outside, and my youngest son, so there's this bowl of cherries. Okay. So my youngest one is eating the cherries, and we're all talking and this and that, I'm not really paying attention. Then I look over and he's eating like half a bowl of these cherries. Okay. Then he proceeds to, okay.
Uh-oh.
He proceeds to vomit all over the table and the patio. Oh my God. I like, well, one, I feel like a horrible mother because I wasn't paying attention to my son. I had no idea he loved cherries so much. Anyway, Mark Hamill is like, no problem. He get the hoses right there. So he's hosing my son's vomit, okay, off the patio table. So that's how cool Mark Hamill is, okay?
Oh, that's a dream.
Yeah,
Wasn't he roommates with Robert at one point before Star Wars?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought so. I think he read lines with him too for Star Wars. Robert, and I think I'm a huge Star Wars fan too. So so is Nate. He
Yeah,
actually
Mark
took down a
Hamill's
Star
like
Wars
my
poster,
yeah. I put Star Wars is under this one. Like Mark Hamill's like my I'll probably never get to meet Mark. But
Go to
like,
Celebration. You'll meet him.
Yeah,
I'll try.
and no, that was really, really something. Can you imagine? You know, yeah, I'm going to work today with Mark Hamill. You know, it was really a special thing. Another kind of interesting thing is Watchers 4. At one point, it was called Watchers Reborn. I think they ended up with Watchers 4, but they that movie is it's a book, Dean Koontz, right? And I think it was Corey Haim who was in the first one.
In the first one, yeah, Corey.
Yeah, in the
Corey
first
Haim
one.
was the first one.
But the one number 4 is the one closest related to the book. And here's the bizarre thing: when I was filming Nightmare 4, okay, I was downtime, whatever. I read books. So Harold Berger said, "Oh, you like Dean Koontz?" I'm like, "Yeah, I read Sphere, or what I think I read Sphere." He said, "Oh, you got to read Watchers." So he gave me Watchers to read while I'm doing Nightmare 4. And then like 10 years later, I'm doing the movie. There's 4. And
Maybe
read
he
it on
should
the
give you
set
more
of
books.
Nightmare 4. So it's my Lucky Charm book. I don't know.
I hadn't heard. I read this today that Stephen King was actually asked to write Nightmare 5 originally and maybe direct.
Really? I kind of heard that too. That is certainly possible.
And Frank Miller, the comic book artist, was also offered to work on Nightmare 5.
Really?
Yeah. Sin City, Dark Knight Returns. That's why, I mean, the talent. I mean, I know Part 5 they went through the whole splatterpunk guys, like David Sow and all those guys. Again, like they were just going after so many talented people, and like I'd never heard the Stephen King thing till today.
Neither have I.
But I know you were a big reader. I read that's how like you were really, as a young teenager, that you were kind of a quiet reader, kind of introvert, like kind of like Alice in many ways.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Have
Total
you ever,
daydreamer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Total
had any
daydreamer.
interest in writing yourself, or?
As far as writing a book, no. Yeah. But well, I take it back. I've kind of have a file on my computer, and sometimes I will write memories down from filming and auditioning or whatever. I've written some lyrics for music, but it's simply just like a hobby kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But there was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember now. Anyway, be an introvert. Oh yeah, I was a total introvert. We moved a lot, so every time a new town, new school, new kids, and I was always the last person picked for kickball or whatever.
That's me.
Yeah, and it was really hard. So I resorted to my fantasy world of books, and I read everything. I was a big horror. I love paranormal stuff, and so I remember in the summertime, with no school, mom might take me and my sister to the library and we check out books. All my books were like vampires and paranormal ghost stories, all that stuff, you know? And so thank God they didn't think, you know, they needed to put me in the funny farm. They're just like, oh, at least she's reading. But my first novel I ever read was Bram Stoker's Dracula. And that was like in 4th grade. And I literally read that. It was wintertime in Missouri. I'm from Missouri, wintertime. So we have electric blankets, right? So I read that under the covers with my electric blanket light. Okay, think how small that light is. You know, good night, mom and dad. And then I'm under the covers reading till 3 a.m, Dracula, because it wasn't exactly on the reading list in 4th grade.
I wouldn't think so. So
Missouri.
where are you from in Missouri?
Yeah.
Columbia, and then
okay.
when we moved to St. Louis, and
I
then
live outside of St. Louis.
You're what?
I live right outside of St. Louis.
What town?
It's on the Illinois side. It's in Collinsville, is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually
all right.
from the same town John Carl Buechler's from.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. All right. Well, and then
That means nothing.
then we moved to a little town. Speaking of Carl, and Carl, by the way, he directed Watchers 4, you know, so it was all win-win. But then we moved to a little town called Washington, Missouri, about an hour outside of St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my dad got offered a job in Newport Beach, California. So he moved the whole family out.
I think that would make 2 leads from Nightmare, because I believe Mark Patton's from Missouri, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from Missouri.
He's from Kansas
Or
City.
Kansas.
Or
He's
is he from
Kansas.
Kansas? Oh, he's in Kansas. Okay.
Kansas City, but he's from the Missouri side.
Okay.
So you can say it's
so
Missouri.
he is. And then there's a few of us Midwesterners. Heather Langenkamp, she's from Oklahoma. And we
Dang,
were
so
born.
everybody's in the central region.
Well, it makes sense. They're playing characters from Ohio, so that helps.
I'm going to be filming in Ohio.
Oh.
Yeah.
What can we ask what it is?
I can't say yet, but it is a horror film.
Uh-oh.
And it is it goes back to like classic 80s you know, bloody bath picture horror films. So
Yeah.
and it's really funny as well, and great kills.
That's great.
I'm telling you, I was reading the script going, oh my god, this is so great. So, and I get killed in it.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah.
You survived Freddy twice, but
It's fun to
I'm
get-
so excited. I get a death scene.
I'll say it's fun to get
Oh.
killed.
yeah, I guess it would be fun to get killed. I asked one of my director friends, made a movie called The Barn. I asked, is there any way I can come up and just be killed? That's all I want to do is be killed. I can't act, but I'd like to be killed in a movie. So yeah, if you can make it up here. So
So
that
here's
must be
the
fun.
here's the big question: would you ever come back and play Alice if you
Yes,
were asked?
absolutely. Absolutely. I would be great. I mean, what the heck happened to Alice and Jacob, for heaven's sakes, you know?
Jacob would be
Right.
30 now, right?
Right? I don't know, right? So let's just tie this up, please. You know, can we just kind of tie this up? I think it would be great, though, if I still didn't get killed, though.
Yeah. Still
You don't want to
survive
get
it.
killed on screen, don't you?
Right? I don't know. We'll see. But I'd take the sacrifice, though. I would be killed.
Has any
Okay.
like fan film makers approached you for doing an Alice Lives type movie? You know, because there's one recently that came up with the guy Miko Hughes from New Nightmare. What is it called? Dylan's Nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the fan films are becoming a big deal. Not a huge deal, but you know, they're getting a lot of the I know a lot of the Friday the 13th fan films are starting to get actors from those series, and now with Miko being in Dylan's Nightmare, is that what it's called?
Yes,
Dylan's
Dylan's
New
Nightmare.
Okay. Yeah. Has anybody ever come up, because I could write that, Alice Lives. I'm a comic book writer. I think I could write that.
You could totally write that. And I have been approached, as well as Robert, actually, for kind of doing one that is, let's say Nightmares 6, 7, and 8 don't exist, right? Starting from 5, so we have that backstory,
A
and going on
continuation.
Good to me.
and
Go for
going on from 5.
Yeah.
So they're talking with Wes Craven's estate right now, because that's who owns the Warner Brothers, doesn't have the rights anymore. It's with Wes Craven's estate. So now, of course, this all happened, like the end of February, just before COVID happened.
Yeah.
So, filming is like practically non-existent in California, whereas in other parts of the country, you know, every state, every city, for heaven's sakes, has different rules and stuff like that. So, yeah, but there's really nothing happening in LA. But this happened, and they've done a whole story thing and artwork, and I mean, it's very, very well done. It's very serious, you know.
Professional.
So, you know, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
That would be very.
I think that's
cool.
what a lot of fans, I've heard a lot of fans want to see where Alice ended up, because, like I said, it's open ended, and I always considered part 5 to be the end of that original storyline. Anyway, I kind of feel like Freddy's Dead was its own thing.
It is.
I think it really
totally
ends.
is.
I think it ends with you and that part with your kid. I think, to me, that whole first part. How did playing Missy on Bill and Ted come to you on that? Like,
Oh my gosh, that was so fun. We actually filmed that in Vancouver, and I had just had my first son, and I think I just had him. He was about 4 months old, and this audition came up, and I remember Geraldine, what's her last name? Anyway, she was the casting director, and she used to bring me in for all kinds of stuff that Laura Marr was doing. So anyway, I had the audition, and then I had a callback, and I had just gotten over a cold or something, and my callback was horrible. I was horrible, and I knew it. And I got home, and I called my agent. I said, I just did the worst callback. Can you please call Geraldine Leader? That's her name. She's cast a ton of things. Can you just beg her to please let me come back? Please, 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 please. Well, she let me come back, and I booked the role. So, and then we spent about 3 months up in Vancouver, absolutely beautiful, with my little baby and my husband, and yeah, it was great. Of course, Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure, I'm a huge fan, and it was really fun to play that role. And then Don Lake played the dad, and yeah, it was great. I think what's so much fun about acting is getting to see different parts of the world and live in different parts of the world for a period of time. I've gotten, and even with the conventions, I've gotten to go all over the world, you know, and I love location filming. And because I did a movie actually with Tuesday Night, she's in it. We don't have any scenes together, but we're in the same movie called Bloody Man. And that was filmed in Kentucky. And these darling little towns and the darling little cafes and the architecture and the people and this and that. It's like, I like to say is I love what I do.
Yeah.
Is there, speaking of that, is there a project that you've done that doesn't get a lot of attention that you're really proud of and would encourage people to check out, the fans of yours?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yes. Okay. It's an 80s, what they call TNA 80s. And I took a quarter off of UCLA to be a featured extra in this movie called Give Me an F. Okay. Give Me an F. Now, when I did it, it was called The Big Cheer. And it's basically 4 4-leader squads, and we're at camp and we're competing, right? Best cheer, right? And so one group of cheerleaders are called the Ducks, and then the group I was with were the Demons. So we are like the smoking slutty ones, you know, and we wear red and black, and we're just like, we're so cool. We're so cool. And of course, that's interesting. That's sort of like foreshadowing the genre that I'm going to be in, you know. Anyway, it's kind of fun. So, not that I'm proud of it, but I think it's just such a classic TNA 80s movie. And a few people have seen it, and actually at a convention have said, I saw that. I'm like, oh my God, that dusty old thing. So anyway, I would say that.
There's a way to find it now.
You probably can find it. Someone found it.
Yeah,
another one is a short film I did called The Quiet Room. It's sort of a like gay horror thing, The Quiet Room. I like my work in that. I play a nurse, like a psychiatric nurse, and I really like that. And I'm sure, I think it's streaming. You can find The Quiet Room too. So there's a few things, but I have a movie called Mystery Spot that I did in September last year in Hempstead, Texas. Really, really proud of this film. So it's a full-length feature, and so keep your eyes open. If we have ever had theaters again to go watch movies in, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get there. We'll get there. This nightmare will end. I feel certain. Oh, and of course, have to plug the PSA I did with. Did you guys see it?
Yeah.
Stop the Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that somehow miraculously came about between 5 states and all using our cameras and our computers. The little skits were filmed in Chicago and my friend's suburban neighborhood. Also, social distancing is appropriate, but I was really happy to see as many of the cast members that were available to also participate in it.
A lot of them too.
Huh?
There's a lot of cast members in there.
Yeah,
that's
from
great.
3 and 4 and all over. Yeah, so it's pretty that's pretty cool. So please check that out. We have our own website and you can actually donate and it goes to an artist's benefit. So anyway, I can just go on and on and on and on.
That's good. That's a good thing.
I don't know.
At least you're able to take breaths in between sentences. Mark Patton did not. I don't think he took a breath.
Honey.
Yeah.
I love him. And he's in the PSA too. You saw that.
Yeah. He's
a
a great guy.
A nanosecond. I mean, the thing is only a minute long. We packed in as much as we could.
Okay. I'm going to ask about Never Sleep Again if I can. Actually, first of all, Star Trek. You said you're a big Star Wars fan. How was it on Star Trek?
Again, oh my gosh. Oh, Star Trek. Oh my God. So yes, already a huge fan. That I just got the normal auditioning way. You get there. It was at Paramount Studios. It's my favorite studio. It's the most beautiful studio lot. And the hallway is just packed and they don't have enough chairs. So you're sitting on the floor, you sign in and you're waiting to get in for your audition moment, And I'll never forget, Tracy Lords was auditioning as well. And she introduced herself to me and she's like, I loved you as Alice in Nightmare on Elm Street. I was like, thank you. Auditioned and I didn't even have a callback. I booked that sucker. Yeah.
That's great.
But what's interesting in that is that my character, known as the assassin, does get killed. Now in Star Trek Next Generation, you don't really have much death. It's all about negotiation and that kind of thing. So interesting enough, I ended up as a character on the Monopoly board, the Next Gen Monopoly board. You could land on me, a character on the board. And out of the hundreds of guest star roles, I'm like, what? Oh my gosh, how cool. So anyway.
Cool. It's very okay. So Never Sleep Again, the documentary. I've watched it so many times. I'm a huge Nightmare guy. That's like when on Sunday nights, my mom would work. Me and my little brother would watch Nightmare, all the way through, or sometimes we'd watch it backwards, start from dead and go the other way.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I brought my brother up on horror movie. I'm a bad person, I think. Bad influence. When the doc came out in 2010, it was the best thing ever for me. Because I got to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And I wanted to know, first of all, did Rennie Harlan stink? Because Sarah Richards says that he started to stink when he come in. I'm just curious, did he actually smell like a Viking? I don't know.
I don't really remember that, but now remember back then, Europeans do not bathe like the way Americans do.
Oh yeah.
It's just
I dated
the way
a German girl,
was.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, they just didn't. And they didn't wash their clothes like American, whatever. It's just a different lifestyle. So I can't personally say I ever remember him smelling off, but it's possible. It's possible, Anyway.
Also, I love that
People could stink.
Everybody in the documentary was doing his voice.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know, right?
I love
Tuesday
that.
does it best.
Yeah.
Tuesday does it the best.
Oh,
definitely.
yeah, that
Oh,
Tuesday.
Tuesday, you look
You know,
beautiful.
I have to say that documentary, Tommy Hudson, they uncovered people from underneath rocks. I mean,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
amazing. I'll never forget because
They
he
found
given me a
Mark.
copy. What's that here, hon?
They found Mark Patton. He was hard to find apparently when they found him for the doc.
He was in Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he, but I'll never forget. So Tommy had given me a copy, of course, to you know, to watch. And it was like 10 o'clock at night. And, you know, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just pop this in. Let me check it out, you know. 4 hours later, I'm glued to the TV for 4 hours, learning and hearing so many great stories and so many anecdotes and just things I had no clue about. Yeah, it was certainly mind-blowing and certainly entertaining, right? Just a
Yes.
wealth of information.
It
Yeah.
was. I worked with Tommy on the book that he put out after it.
Oh, yes, yes.
I did the artwork for the cover of it, and
Oh, no way.
it was only focused on the first movie because he found so much information. He was going to do all the series, but the book didn't do really well. But it was 250 pages just about the film, and like you said, he talked to everybody from like the Greens people to the jump rope girls and like all these.
Yeah.
Like, everybody had because everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And he said, I just have so much wealth of information that fans. He said I was in people's basements pulling Polaroids off the bottoms of cardboard boxes that I hadn't seen since 1984.
Yeah.
And so Tommy definitely was a fan. You could see that all the way through Never Sleep Again, that he really wanted everybody's story. So it was cool to finally see everybody tell their story.
Yeah,
No,
he got just about everybody.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it, and it's so nice here. Cool that you did the artwork on the book cover. That's so cool.
He's famous. Nobody even knows it. He's famous.
He is,
Yeah.
and he deserves to be. We call him Superman. We do.
That book, it was a nightmare. And going like I wanted, as far as Nightmare 4, that was a movie that, it was my first one in the theaters. And it was a funny story because I wanted to see it. I was 12 years old, and a guy at school wanted to see it too. So my dad dropped us off, not thinking this is a rated R film.
Right.
So me and my 12-year-old friend walk up to the ticket taker.
Oh.
Yeah, we want 2 tickets for Nightmare, and they said, we can't. You're kids. And like there were some teenagers sitting by, and they started laughing.
Oh.
I had to go find a payphone, call Dad, and said, Dad, we can't get in. So he had to come back and take us to the movie.
We need your permission, Dad.
Yeah, and I just remember him, and he didn't take me to the movies a lot. Like he wasn't a movie guy. My mom was the movie fan. And so he had to sit there watching it. I remember little things like when the dog pisses the fire, he goes, no wonder he's so pissed off, But a few years ago, I'd been waiting for a Nightmare 4 reunion where I could do a photo op, because I've done a photo op, because those first 4 movies are like really dear to my heart. And I hadn't gotten to do a part 4 photo op with the cast, and you guys were doing it in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm from Louisville.
Yeah.
And, you're allowed to have one person in the photo op with you. And I called my dad. I said, Dad, will you come to Lexington and be in this photo with me? Because you took me to see that movie in 1988.
Oh.
We came and we got the photo op with you guys. And you all were with him, and you and Tuesday were with Dad. And I don't know who they were, but they were really nice. But yeah, that was
That's
a big,
adorable.
yeah, it was a cool story. I was like, it's because he's just an old-fashioned dad, and so I wrote him. I was like, I want you to be in this photo with me, and he just wrote, what time? I'll be there. So,
That is so sweet. Oh, that is so cool. Well, I'm glad he didn't, he didn't prevent you from enjoying your passion, which is horror or whatever, right? So that's a cool dad,
Oh yeah, I try to do it with my daughter. I've caught myself like all the kids now are all about YouTube videos, right? And I want her to watch movies because she likes filmmaking. It's like, you got to learn from watching these films.
Yeah.
And she watches YouTube, and I say, I would say something bad about YouTube, and I was like, you know what? No, you love that, so you love what you love.
Yeah.
Thank God. Parents shouldn't tell their kids what they like isn't important or is
Or projects,
yeah. So I was like, if that's what you love, then great.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure my parents probably would have preferred I wasn't, all into ghost stuff and all that, whatever. but to be fair, I also read every single Nancy Drew book you can imagine. Talk about going into the fantasy world and being Nancy Drew, the detective, but yeah, and even pursuing your dreams, I fell into acting totally by accident. And my parents were very supportive of it. Of course, they were like, we still would like you to get a degree, a college degree. And I was like, oh, absolutely. I want to major in theater. They're like, fine, as long as you get a degree, but I'm so glad that they encouraged me, attended the theater the plays I did. And my poor mother, before if I wasn't driving yet, my mother driving me to rehearsal every night. Oh my goodness gracious. But anyway, thanks Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. They were nothing but supportive for me in my art career. So, and my mom's always like, gotta have everything I do, like every movie, every DVD, every comic book, whatever.
Isn't
like I gotta
that
have
so
it.
nice? Yeah, my family.
That's what so I do that every time a client like, can I get 2 copies? Because I gotta get one to my mom.
Understood.
Yeah.
And thanks for the story, Nate. That's a good one. I'm glad. I think I've seen that picture, the group picture you took.
Yep. And I have actually a glove from the film, the one that kills your brother. I have one that kills Andress, a friend of mine.
You do?
Yeah, a friend of mine's friends with Bill Force, who worked on Steve Johnson's crew.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was Bill or someone else, but they said they pulled it out of a dumpster because, again, like back then they didn't hold on to anything. He was working on the film, and I guess because it had the blades cut off, because it's the one that gets him in the belly. And he just thought they had thrown it away. So this guy had it on his mantle for years, and he was single. He never married, and he almost died. He got really sick. And he said, I don't remember the guy's name he worked on he was like an electrician or something. He worked on probably on with Jim Doyle or somebody like that. And so he told a guy who's a friend of mine up in Green Bay, he said, if I had passed away, somebody may not know what that is. He said,
right, and it would end up back in the dumpster.
Yeah. So he said, I'll give it to you. And then he told me, so he goes, I'm not a huge Freddie fan. I know you're like the biggest Freddie fan in the world. So he goes, I'm going to give that to you someday. Because he goes, I want to hold on to it a little bit just to enjoy it. But he goes, I want to give it to you because I know you'll cherish it. So that glove's also in the picture with us, with the cast. And I took it to show Andress, and he was like, totally. I was like, here's the glove that killed you. He's like, oh, nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's such a sweet story. That is such a sweet story.
Yeah, the guy gave it. He was really nice to give that, just to gift something like that to somebody because he knew. And he said, you're not going to sell it. I'm like, I'll never sell that, man. That movie means too much to me. That,
Yeah.
What do you have from that? Do you have any props? I mean, there's pictures of you with the gloves. You must have gotten that. The glove.
That's a replica. That's from,
So you didn't get anything at all?
No, I got a dress. The dress at the very end of Nightmare 5. But I sold that a couple years ago. Again, because it's just sitting in my closet and like someone can appreciate this. You know what I mean? It's but no, didn't get anything. I have personal items like Polaroids, a few of those, and personal photo album. I have a couple albums that have set pictures and stuff. Unfortunately, when I was filming Nightmare 4, I came home one late night working all day, and I was mugged in my backyard.
Oh my
God. Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of an interesting story. I pulled into the garage. My husband knew I was coming, because I called him on the way home or whatever. Did I have cell phones available? No, I don't think we had cell phones yet. No, we didn't have cell phones yet. So anyway, I come home. It's like 1:30 in the morning, and I have my driving glasses on, and I have my purse in my script bag, and I'm going up to the back door, and I see these huge white tennis shoe like feet, and I look up and up and up and up and up, and there's this huge man standing there who immediately with his huge hand covers my face, and my instinct was I just covered my heart and started screaming my guts out. And I struggled, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be raped, whatever. And fortunately, and then he threw me on the ground, on the grass, and I landed on my purse. And then he left, and he pulled my script bag, and the strap broke, and he ran away with my script bag that had my original script that I did all my notes in, and my camera. So it had a whole bunch of pictures in that camera. But anyway, I was fine. The lenses of my glasses had popped out, and my neighbor heard me screaming upstairs, and he lifted the window, and that's when he said, "What's going on down there?" And then the guy runs off, and then my husband is coming out with a butcher knife because he heard me screaming. So we had our own little horror film in the backyard.
Good God.
Excuse me. So anyway, the guy was never caught.
Wow.
It's crazy to think. It's crazy to think whatever happened to that stuff. It had to end up somewhere.
In the dumpster, probably, because
Yeah,
he probably had no
probably.
idea.
That's probably
Probably
true.
tossed in a dumpster.
Unless he looked at the script and ended up selling it in the black market and sold the camera, right?
Yep.
I don't know.
Did you get away with any money?
No, because I landed on my purse,
Oh yeah.
on my back. And I had two bags, my
Hey.
purse and the script bag. So he just got the script and the camera.
You probably just thought it was a purse.
Yeah.
He probably did. You know what? Let's just imagine that scenario. He was probably like so pissed off. This is all I got, a camera and some stupid script.
He's
What the
like,
hell
I've
is
been
this?
standing in this dark spot of this driveway for like 2 hours, and all I got
I
is
know.
this.
I know, right? Right?
Obviously, he's not a Freddy
Oh
fan.
my gosh. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. But interesting, the police came, of course, we called the police, and he was the lookout, because then they described the other garages had been burglarized. So they think he was the lookout, and the buddy was, breaking into the cars.
Oh.
And so, I took him by surprise, I guess you could say.
So you may have stopped more crime.
Hopefully.
So again, that's super.
Alice rises to the occasion
Yeah.
again.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that story. Do you get to share these stories with people very often, or is it just that's a weird question? I have a weird question.
Sometimes it kind of depends on the length of the broadcast, or if it even comes up, whatever. But I do enjoy sharing them. And when you were talking about writing, it's like, it would be fun to maybe put this into some kind of little book, so the stories aren't forgotten.
Oh yeah,
Lisa
people want
Wilcox,
to.
tell all.
I think people would go. I mean, I worked on Mick Strawn. I know you're interviewed in that one. I did the cover for that book for Mick on the Nightmare 4. So
Nice.
I would definitely be interested in your memoirs
Okay.
on the series.
All right. All right. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. I will certainly keep that in mind, because there's more and more.
I bet it's because as great as the documentary is, Never Sleep Again, I feel like there may have been a lot of things glossed over from 4 and 5, because obviously the first movie got the most attention, which, I mean, it's the beginning of the series, kind of a groundbreaking horror film. But by the time they got to 4 and 5, it started the runtime per movie started to get less and less. And I wanted to hear more from you mostly, that I didn't get to hear much from, because you were in there for sure, but I wasn't as happy as I should have been with my inside knowledge for part 4, because that's my favorite one.
I have to edit all
Where's
that
there no
stuff
Alice
out.
Johnson action figure also?
I know, right?
Was she? Yeah, like there's tons of Freddy, of course, and then Debbie has one. Well, I mean, she's her death scene's really cool, and she's got the cockroach, so that's really awesome.
Yes, I've seen it, and yes, we're all very jealous of her. We tease her. She got the action figure. We didn't, you know.
It's like the only one that has an action figure. I think the only other one I have, I can't remember his name. Comic Book Boy. I have him as a comic book with.
Yeah, but that's with a Freddy though.
Yeah, he's just a piece of paper, but he's still a figure.
Mark.
No, it would be very nice, and I do get asked that quite a bit actually. Why isn't there an action figure for the other characters? You know, and I already have the idea. I think it absolutely would be the end of the movie, the warrior outfit, and then little mini nunchucks, right, as the little prop little chain. So anyway. But actually, I decided, well, hell with that, hell with an action figure. So I actually had little mini nunchucks made, and I bring them to the shows and stuff. They're really fun. They like say one set says Alice Lives on one side, and then the other one, of course, is the Freddy colors, red and green. And then I have a new one, and it says the Dream Master. They're on my website. You should check them out. They're really fun.
Oh, cool.
Well, tell everybody what your website is. Is it just lisawilcox.com or?
It was, but there I've heard people, no, it's lisaewilcox.com. That is the official, most current one. And I have some pictures there and t-shirts and the little mini nunchucks, which are actually like a refrigerator magnet. And then it comes with an extra magnet, so you can actually wear it like a pin. I should be wearing it. What am I doing? Oh, well.
You gotta rep the merch.
I know. Forget.
Did you work on something with Tuesday Night after
company together, right?
Yeah, a company, yeah.
Yes, we did. Yes, called
that?
Toe Brights.
Yeah.
And we actually hadn't seen each other in a long time since Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and then we ran into each other and we talked for like an hour and a half, and I was going through divorce and boy problems and whatever, and we chatted, and then she was making these little illusion band toe rings with Swarovski crystals, and I just adored them, and so we became partners, and we started to, and then her mom, and us two were getting boutiques and things, buying them, making orders, to where we were training our friends on how to make them handmade. So I'm buying dowels and vices and Swarovski crystal stones and the charms to make them and all this. Then we got a huge drugstore account, and we're like, how are we going to fill this order? You know? And we were so excited, we were like, So at that point, we got a third partner. Her assistant had given her one of our illusion band toe rings and just flipped out over them, had a meeting with us, and she already had office space. This is all, we were doing this all from, our home, anyway, she had office space downtown. She became our third partner. She already had a jewelry factory that was manufacturing in the area. And there you go. So we did that for about 9 years. It's a little business we started from home, and eventually we were in Nordstrom. We were in boutiques all over. We had huge distribution in Japan. I actually did Shopping Channel in Japan, which is very interesting, let me tell you. And they're like whispering in your ear because it's all in Japanese, and the interpreter's whispering, and you're on live TV, and I'm like, I couldn't hear you. Can you say that a little louder? Can't hear you. Anyway, whole other story. But anyway, yeah, we were very, it was a lot of fun. And a lot of celebrities were wearing them, and we got invited to all kinds of fun stuff. I got to meet the Friends cast. All the girls were wearing our toe rings and stuff. Lisa Kudrow, she's like, can you bum a cigarette? Sure. Whatever. It was real. It was a very, very fun time. Yeah.
Awesome. And
then the recession had hit, and none of our boutiques couldn't pay their invoices. So that was a tough time around 2007, 2009, 2008 in there. Yeah. So
you just got something out of it, and
it
sounded like it did well. And you got to remain friends with Tuesday. So
yes, exactly.
She seemed really nice.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Yes. No, we had a great time.
Well, I think we're gonna start wrapping up. If that's okay with you.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd probably be able to talk to you all night long.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, really fun questions, and I've enjoyed getting to share my little stories and whatnot. So, yeah. So until next time. Yeah.
Well, hopefully there will be a next time because well, personally, I don't know about you guys.
That would be
You guys
fun.
are like sphinxes. I can't read any of you.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Maybe we can have that again.
Great.
Yeah, because I loved having you on. Even though I'm not nervous anymore. That's gone away.
Good. That's good.
But I thank you so much for accepting and being on and sharing all these great stories. I really appreciate it. And is there anything else you guys want to say before we go?
Just thanks for being on. And I mean,
other than that,
Dream Child is like, I mean, everybody's favorite's always like 1 and New Nightmare, and mine have
or
always
3
or 3. Yeah, 3 is always everybody's favorite.
Not mine.
3, I love 3. Yes.
But I always liked Dream Child, and it always seemed like it was the weakest link that nobody ever talked about compared. I mean, besides Freddy's Dead, anyways. That is like the weakest link. But nobody ever talks about Dream Child. I like all how much depth there is to it. Like we talked about earlier, all the hidden symbolism and all the messages in it and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and the symbolism with the and Freddy's mother, the nun, and the scene with the nightmare. I mean, this is really creepy stuff. Even filming it, I'm like, I know this is imaginary, but this is really creepy. Well, I'm really glad you appreciate it. That makes me feel good. Thank you.
I absolutely love the opening. The opening is very disturbing and dark, and like just the vulnerability of Alice being in that place and nude is like you could feel like, oh man, I'm like that would just be so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know. It's like
in that situation in a dream, like
I know. And then the asylum scene and all that. Oh my god.
That's probably the darkest it's gotten for a while after all this.
Yeah. That's super dark. And then she wakes up and Freddy's right there. Well, not Freddy, but one of his dads. Robert.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It has a lot of twists and turns, and it is very dark, darling. Yeah, it is. Yeah. But thank you for liking it.
We love it. Seth, you got anything, buddy? Seth hasn't said anything.
Yeah, Seth.
Yeah, well, I mean, thanks for being on. It was nice, listening to you talk. Nightmare on Elm Street 4 is my personal favorite. It's my go-to anytime I'm in the mood to watch an Elm Street movie. I love the characters. I love the way it was filmed. You guys talked earlier about the evolution of Alice Johnson, and for me, it's her evolution in that movie as well as her evolution in part 5 as well. Especially that scene when you're trying to tell everyone what's going on and they're all acting like you're crazy and
Yeah, thank you. And fighting for her son.
Yeah. But yeah, I watch Elm Street 4 all the time. So.
Oh, cool. Well, nice to meet you guys, all of you.
You as well.
Yes. Anyone else before we go?
I was just going to say we would love to have you back on if you ever want to discuss what you're working on or what you're dealing with in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe we can get Tuesday too. Have her come on too. That'd be fun.
Okay. Yes.
So, Lisa, thank you very much for coming on. We're going to wrap it up. Everybody, thanks for watching. Anybody who watched, sorry for nothing.
We are not sorry for nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say sorry, but I lost it. So I'm just so happy that we got to do this. Thanks for being on, and anybody who wants to watch will be back on Tuesday. Again, Lisa Wilcox, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
My
Lisa.
pleasure. You guys all hang in there, okay? Be safe.
You too. Be safe. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Bye. Toodaloo.
Bye.